I'm Rachel. I'm 47 years old, and in the last 2 years, I've lost over 150 pounds. Today, I want to talk about why weight loss can be so much harder for some people than for others, and how the modern food environment heavily influences that. If you have struggled a lot with your weight in the modern world, I want you to hear something important. Your struggle does not mean you are lazy. It does not mean you lack discipline or willpower. And it does not mean that you failed. It is certainly not a reflection of your moral character either. It's because nowadays we are living in a food environment that is very different from the one humans evolved in. And for people who have a strong biological tendency towards weight gain and high fat storage, which some have a lot more than others, that environment can create an incredibly difficult challenge with many dilemmas. I know this personally. I spent so much of my own life trying to lose weight. I followed the advice I was given. I tried all kinds of popular programs. I was raised and taught to always diligently count and restrict calories because that was the standard advice at the time I was growing up. I tried to do everything right, and yet I still struggled so hard to get and keep any weight off. And typically, the weight would quickly come back and I'd often regain more than I lost in the first place. Sound familiar to any of you? I was fighting a difficult and deeply frustrating battle with the often flawed information and limited tools I had available to me until very recently in my life when I discovered Dr. Jason Fung's work, was able to access new weight loss medications, and was finally in a place in my life where I could dedicate the needed focus and bandwidth on improving my health in the way that I have. So today, I want to zoom out and talk about something we have touched on throughout this channel, the modern food environment of the past roughly 50 years. Not because we should blame someone else or because our own actions and decisions don't matter, they do, but because understanding the environment we are navigating helps us understand why weight management can be so much more difficult for some people than for others, and how the modern environment has changed the weight management equation over the years. In an earlier video, we talked about genetics and how strongly biology influences body weight. But genetics alone does not determine our destiny. Environment matters too. A helpful way to think about this is genetics may load the tendency, but the environment influences whether that tendency becomes a reality. What we see today, with obesity being a far more common and serious public health problem than it was in past ages, is the effects of biology meeting a new environment. But of course, since we're all living in the same environment, why are some people getting fat but not others? Because depending on your biology, you will experience that environment differently than other people with a different biology. Let's look at a simple example to illustrate this. Imagine two people are trying to swim across the same river. One person is swimming downstream with the current. The other is swimming upstream against it. Both people may be capable swimmers and trying their best. They both need to make some effort to cross the river. But one person has a much harder journey than the other and must make a much bigger effort than the other to get across. For some people, those whose biology tends to favor weight gain, maintaining a healthy weight in today's world feels like swimming upstream, not because they are weaker or less worthy, but because they are fighting both their biology and their environment at the same time. That's not to say someone can't cross the river swimming upstream. as I have done, but it will be more challenging due to the modern environment compared with somebody whose biology helps them stay slim without much effort, even in today's environment. So, a person who needs to swim upstream may need the right kind of tools and information about how to make their more challenging journey through this unprecedented environment. Over the last several decades, our food environment has changed dramatically. Food became more convenient, more available, more heavily processed, cheaper to produce and buy, which in many ways is a good thing, and often specially engineered to be extremely and unusually appealing. Many modern processed foods combine things that our brains naturally find rewarding: sweetness, saltiness, rich textures, quick energy. These foods are designed to be enjoyable, and there is nothing wrong with enjoying food. Food is one of life's great pleasures, and that's okay. The challenge is that many of these foods are very different from the foods that humans historically ate and which our bodies evolved over many, many thousands of years to eat. Whole foods often come with natural signals that help us feel satisfied once we've eaten enough: fiber, protein, natural fats, water content, nutrients. But many ultra processed foods are easy to eat quickly and in large quantities. And they often don't make you feel full until you've eaten more, sometimes much more, than you actually need. This is because they are designed for convenience, inexpensiveness, and appeal, rather than to make it easy to manage one's weight. And for someone who already has a strong biological tendency towards weight gain, that can create a very difficult situation around weight management. Another challenge is that the food environment changed very quickly, while official and common dietary advice was also changing and sometimes pretty conflicting. Many of, many of us grew up hearing messages like eat low fat, choose diet products, snack throughout the day, and eat small meals constantly to keep your metabolism going. A lot of people sincerely tried to follow that advice. My parents did, I did, millions of people around the world did. And we thought we were doing all the right things. But for many people, those approaches did not work well. And they often made our health and weight situation worse rather than better. As I discussed earlier in this channel, what finally helped me understand my own obesity was realizing that hormones, especially insulin and cortisol, importantly affect hunger, fat storage, and how difficult it is for the body to access your stored fat and burn it. Learning that changed everything for me and was incredibly empowering. It helped me stop viewing my struggles as personal failure, which was liberating. And it helped me start looking for strategies that worked with my biology instead of constantly fighting against it. This is also why social eating and celebrations can be so complicated. Food is not just fuel, food is culture, food is family and friends, food is connection, food is pleasurable. And modern life surrounds us with many opportunities to eat at all hours of the day and night: restaurants, office treats, holiday gatherings, convenience foods, 24-hour food joints, snacks everywhere. For many people, navigating that environment is effortless. For others, it requires constant awareness and vigilance. And I think it's important to acknowledge that difference. Some people can eat certain foods frequently and still maintain a healthy weight easily. Others have to think much more carefully about what, when, and how they eat all the time. And that takes up a lot of regular bandwidth. Neither person is morally better. They simply have very different kinds of challenges. And also, so many common food habits, social norms, and food related expectations in our culture have currently evolved in such a way that require those of us more prone to weight gain to swim upstream regularly if we are to ever reach and maintain a healthy weight. This reality complicates the challenges related to managing weight for many of us in ways that go a lot deeper than just making food choices in a vacuum would be. The reason I talk about the modern food environment is not to make people feel powerless. Actually, it's the opposite. Understanding the biology and the environment didn't make me feel hopeless. It made me feel empowered because for the first time, I finally understood what I was actually fighting. I stopped asking myself things like, why can't I just have more willpower? And I started asking, what strategies actually work with my body? For me, those strategies included fasting, eating a mostly low glycemic diet, better strategies for building muscle, and creating habits that fit into my life. Obesity is very complicated. There is not one single cause, and there is not one single solution that works well for everyone all the time. But understanding the challenges we are facing is the first step towards finding solutions that work. I want to hear from you too. What is one piece of nutrition advice you followed in the past that you later realized didn't work well for you? Or what part of the modern food environment do you find hardest to navigate? Let's talk about it in the comments. And in the next video, we're going to talk about another piece of this puzzle, why knowing what to do is often not enough, and how we can finally build and practically apply habits that last. I'm Rachel. This is 150 Pounds Down. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week.